end. It comes out to Tom James. Good job! Oh, what a goal from Tom James! Oh, that was special!
And welcome to Orient Live, and thank you for coming to the Eads End studio. The O's are hoping for their first bit of pleasure and hopefully their first points this afternoon as they travel to the Pleasure Beach in Blackpool. Well, not quite the Pleasure Beach, but to Bloomfield Road. And hopefully we can pick up our first points of the season. I'm delighted to be joined by two Orient legends. Well, one massive Orient legend in the shape of Jabo Ibehre and a slightly smaller one in the shape of Andrew Butler. Another tough game today though, gents, and Blackpool are a hard one to call. They haven't conceded many, but they also haven't scored many either.
No. I mean, they've had a steady start to their campaign. Strikers have got off the mark this season. They've not conceded. They're undefeated at home as well. So it's going to be a difficult test, but a good test. And we've shown good signs at the end of the game against Wycombe. So hopefully that could be a catalyst for a change of fortunes.
Richie's old club, of course. I think he played around 200 games for them in all competitions in the early 2000s. Maybe he got that red card on Tuesday on purpose, but he's not in the dugout today. Will be a bit of a miss to not have him on the sidelines barking his orders.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. I guess against Wycombe on Tuesday, the whole season hasn't really. I mean, it's no news to any of us really that it hasn't got off to the way that we wanted it to get off. But it's a chance to kind of to put things right. That losing mentality you don't obviously want in your squad for too long. And I think on the face of it, coming away with a point would be an all right result this afternoon.
It would be, considering the amount of injuries that are racking up. Jabo, 6 players on the bench this afternoon. Rob Hunt's missing out with concussion. Jaden Sweeney's also missing out with concussion. I'm not sure what they're doing on the training ground. But it's a light bench. It's a light-ish squad, missing a lot of key players. So it is a case of really kind of having to pull together at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And I think sometimes that could really bring the best out in players when you all have to muck in together. It's just us against everyone else at the moment. And, sometimes it can galvanise a real belief and a real fire within the squad.
We'll come on to the lineup very, very shortly, but there's a lot of players that maybe wouldn't be playing as much football as they are if there weren't other injuries. Obviously losing Dan Ajayi, Joe Piggott's having to kind of lead the line every weekend and every game. So there's also a little bit of pressure there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at the goalkeeper as well, Sam Howes, who probably was brought in expecting to be number 2 for a long period of time, but now he's had to don the number 1 jersey. Yeah. So there's you're right in terms of there are players that probably are playing more than they expected to, but after 4 games of the season, I think now is kind of the time where you go, right, we're in League One now. We can't just say, we've got promoted, well done us, and every team that we're going to play against is going to be a tougher opposition. We all knew that was going to be the case. We've strengthened the squad in the ways that we wanted to strengthen it. Of course, injuries have played a big part in the slightly disjointed nature of the start of the season, but every player that we've brought in has been brought into a League One club, so they should be expecting the challenges that come their way.
Well, it is just the one change for the O's this afternoon, and it's Dan Happy who drops out with suspension, and it is Ethan Galbraith who comes in to make his league debut and starting for the O's this afternoon. So here is how the O's are lining up, and in goal is number 13, Sam Howes. In our defence is number 2, Tom James, number 4, Ed Turns, number 19, Omar Beckles, and we believe potentially number 8, Jordan Brown. In the midfield we have number 14, George Moncur, 15, Idris El Mazouni, and 22, Ethan Galbraith. Leading the line is number 9, Joe Pigott, and number 10, Ruel Sotiriou is also fitting in there somehow. We'll pick that apart shortly and try and work out just exactly what's going on. And on the bench, it is just the 6 players in Reece Byrne, Shaq Ford, Jordan Graham, Harrison Soji, Zek Obiero and Charlie Pegram. So I've tried to read out the team there, Jabo, but it's a bit of a puzzle with all these injuries. So we imagine it's probably Jordan Brown starting at right back, Tom James on the left, and then the three in midfield of Galbraith, El Mazouni and Moncur. It's a bit, as we said, a puzzle, but they're all capable players.
Yeah, they're all capable players. You know, they can all use the ball well, manipulate it well, and I think that's what we have to try and as we find our feet in the new league, to get more into that spirit of retaining possession. And I think all those three players can handle the ball perfectly well. They're showing that in League Two, and it's time for them to sort of get back into that rhythm that we know they can do. And if we can do that, then we can start finding, especially the way Rails started this season, you can find him in those cute little pockets, and he can be a real danger man for us today.
The one there that you'd probably say is playing out of position would be Jordan Brown. But I say out of position lightly because you look back to last season, and no matter where Richie deployed him, he dropped a man of the match performance.
Yeah. He does a job. He does a job everywhere, and we've seen that. Obviously, the step up in the level will be an interesting one. But bear in mind where he's come from. We got him from Derby, who are in this league. He's had a really good academy upbringing. Played in Derby's youth teams, and we picked him up from there. Everyone at Derby, when we picked him up, said this is a very, very capable footballer. And of course, Jordan's career today at Orient has been a funny one, because he hasn't had the consistent kind of week in, week out minutes. But Richie, I think it's probably quite a testament to a player, the fact that a manager just deploys him in wherever he's needed, and it's a real kind of pat on the back in terms of trust to say, I know you played centre midfield on Tuesday, I'm going to need you back there at right back on Saturday. So he's a very, very capable player. I think it's a totally different proposition from what we need him to be doing in centre midfield. I think it is kind of a little bit nervy in terms of we've only had a couple of days on the training grounds to refocus our minds in terms of having Tom James playing left back, Jordan Brown at right back, Rob Hunt struggling, like you said, with a slight injury as well. So that probably is not the ideal situation to be in, probably not the ideal preparation that any manager wants. But going back to Jordan Brown, he's a player that kind of hasn't let the side down or the club down since his arrival.
He certainly hasn't, and he's going to be hoping to be part of a back four that is going to maybe be a little bit stronger today if we cast our minds back to the Portsmouth game, and even Tuesday night. We said it a lot on the day, but it's about defending those balls into the box. It's been tricky, but it's a slightly new look centre back pairing of Omar Beckles and Ed Turns. It's Jordan Brown, as we've discussed, playing at right back. They're all going to need to kind of really dig deep and defend well against a good Blackpool side. Yeah,
they've got to, but like I said, like they've shown many times last season, they're more than capable, and it's just finding that form and that rhythm back in the new league and getting that communication, understanding what everyone's doing and the gaps and everything. But ultimately, it's important, which we've seen in recent games, the way the balls are coming in. We've been susceptible from sort of danger from crosses, so it's about getting close to the opposition players, the forward players, closing those distances down, so they can end up going backwards and going across rather than getting that ball. But the more we play, and like I said, Jordan Brown, every time he's asked to play somewhere different, he delivers. So I'm very confident today. Slightly different situation, but an upturn in our form last season after a sticky January was when that partnership between Ed Turns and Omar Beckles flourished when Dan picked up his injury. Are you hoping to see some big things from that partnership today? Hopefully they'll remember what it's like playing with each other, but they had a really good partnership for that back end of the season, which saw us win the title. 100%. It was. We were worried for a moment when Happy got injured, but what a partnership they created together, and it was the backbone for what we did towards the end of last season. So they will adjust. I'm sure they've had some words again in the training ground. Who leads, who's going to cover around, and I'll be very, I don't think it will take long for them to get going. And but it's just about communicating, keeping those distances small, and when the ball is out wide, can we narrow those distances down so we can stop the cross and they sort of go and recycle the ball going around the other way. And then let's talk a bit further up the pitch, and we've got our midfields and our attackers. Now we spoke on Tuesday night
myself, Jabo and Brendan, assuming it was a back four, and then all of a sudden it was a back five, and Theo Archibald was at left wing back. Is there potentially a case that could happen today with Jordan Brown in the centre of defence? Because I'm just trying to work out how the likes of George Moncur and Ruel Satiri, how they're all going to line up. What are you expecting?
I mean, I think we're just going to have to wait to see the start of the match, unfortunately, because you're absolutely right. On Tuesday, it was right. Okay, how's this lining up? And then they come out on the pitch and they're lining up in a slightly different way. So we'll have to see. What's for sure is that there is enough quality on the pitch there. You know, you look at the team and you look at what we did last season. And you look at our performances as well this season. I know that the Portsmouth game was an aberration, really, but I think against Wycombe, sure, we should not have been conceding 3 goals, and you can't concede 3 goals in any game and expect really to get anything from it. But in terms of the attacking performance, we looked lively. We were pretty much the width of a post away from getting something from the game as well there. And Charlton, there was good periods in that game as well. Right at the end of the game, they were completely under the cosh, Charlton. And so from an attacking point of view, it was obviously nice to get the goals on Tuesday, because it felt like we were getting the goals that we deserved actually from the first few games of the season.
Let's talk goals then, Jabo, and that boy Ruel Satiriu, probably the best striker to come through the Orient Youth Academy since yourself. But it was a big old positive to get him off the mark on Tuesday night and to get the team scoring their first couple of goals. But if we take a look at him now, not only has he got our first of the season, but he was so crucial at the back end of the season, getting some really important goals. And if we take a look at his play, he could be such a big player for us in League One.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when the guy's firing, he's firing. When he's in his hot streak, he's just like, everything comes off for him. He doesn't hesitate with his shooting. He just shoots on sight. He's very positive. You know, he's robust. He can ride a challenge, and you know, everything he does, there's no hesitation. Sometimes when you're not in that sort of moment, then you think about things for a bit too long and the opportunity's gone. But we all know he can finish. You know, and it's just, does he? In previous times, you worry if he's going to stay fit, and at the moment he's having a good run, especially from the end of last season, and what he's doing this season. He's fit. He's seemed like got appetite. He's came back from pre-season in great shape, and he's just looking strong, and he deserves every success he's getting at the moment. But it definitely looks a threat, and it's someone who likes to take that challenge on and lead the line, and it looks like he can handle the pressure when we need him. He delivers. A couple of good finishes on Tuesday as well. Andrew, he's going to take that confidence into today's game, hopefully.
Yeah, and you know, obviously, I think we've spoken about this in the past, especially when Jabo's here, in terms of academy players coming through, and there's an expectation, a higher expectation from fans, because they want to see kind of like one of their own progressing and doing better for the club that they've grown up in. And what we see from Ruel now, getting those goals on Tuesday, is proving himself at League One level and proving himself at a higher level, which is so good, because what's nice about just that small package of goals is that half of them score with his left foot. I remember back, probably this was going back years now, but when Joby McAnuff was our manager for the time, he was pretty much teaching Ruel how to shoot with his left foot, and like spending time and time on the training pitch, teaching him like, right, take this on with your left foot, take this on with your left foot. He scores a goal, I think it might have been against Harrogate, with his left foot, and he immediately goes off and celebrates with Joby on the touchline. Now, I remember speaking to Joby shortly after that game, and he said the reason why he came over is because we spent so much time working on his left foot because we wanted to add that to his game. And now Ruel is developing into a striker who's looking the part, who's got a lot going for him in terms of the ability in which he scores goals. And so it's so nice that, you know, the goals he got on Tuesday, but also were both with his left foot. But like Jabo was saying, he's come back looking leaner, looking fresher. He looks just like a bit faster as well, which is so nice to see, because I remember last season we were down pitch side. I can't remember what game it was, and I can't say, unfortunately, the language that he used when we said, how are you feeling? And he said how he was feeling after one particular game. And occasionally he cannot come off the pitch and be like, you know, you can see that he's really stretching to get to that 90-minute mark. But he's come back this season and looking really, really fresh, and those goals were done him a world of good.
And it's a big part about fitting into a Richie Wellens side and pressing. We defend from the front. You need him to be running, to be fit, to be quick, and he has been. And hopefully that can kind of rub off on the attackers around him as well a little bit. That energy is infectious.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when things are going for you, you feel positive, you suddenly got an extra energy and spark to do the chasing, do the harrying, because you're smelling goals and you're smelling an opportunity. And when you see someone go, your strike partner next to you's thinking, oh, I want a bit of this, and then they start, like the defence starts from the attack, you know, they start hurrying, then the midfields step up, and then the defence can creep up, and then you're closing down the spaces in the opposition's half. So if you do win the ball, you're straight on the attack. So, you know, I remember when I was playing up front, and then I was feeling really good, and then okay, I better start running, and I will start running, and I don't really like to run towards the end. But it's a positive side, and when a striker's running and has got full of energy, then you know he's full of confidence as well.
And would you like to see him get? We know how dangerous he is through the middle. Would you like to see him get close to Joe Pigott, who's obviously hopefully finding that match sharpness now? He's started a lot of consecutive games. You'd like to see them build a little partnership, and hopefully Joe can get in amongst the goals himself. Yeah,
definitely. I think, you know, Joe's shown so far like very good quality of sometimes flicking the ball on with control, and I think sometimes if Rel, you know, you can't run every time and just waste your energy, but at times he can read those flick-ons a bit more and gamble. Then it could be like that can get him 4 or 5 more goals in the season. So I think as they play together and get that connection, that telepathy going, then I think that could be another way he can get goals for sure.
Well, hopefully there will be some goals for the O's this afternoon that we can bring to you. But let's look a little bit further ahead, and it's 2 home games on the bounce. Next Saturday, it's Cambridge United that travel to E10. Tickets are available for that one here at the Brisbane Road. And then the Saturday after, it's our old friends Stevenage, who are sitting a bit too close to the top of the table for my liking, but they are up there. So they are 2 massive games. As I said, tickets are available for both of them. And streaming is available for international fans, and audio passes are available for the UK fans too. So make sure you go and get behind the boys in whatever way you can. But now, let's hear from the main man himself, Richie Wellens.
After Tuesday's game, what are your reflections on the game and what happened?
I thought in terms of our performance levels, we played some really good football. I thought we looked a goal threat, the biggest goal threat that we've looked this year. You know, we scored 2 goals, we hit the post. Ruel went through.
Have you got it? What did you say? It didn't. What probably?
Moncur had a shot played off the line, and there was a lot of you know, balls in and
it's
around.
It's got last season's kit on
quite
too.
land for us. I think more than anything, the character showed to come from 1-0 behind and change the way that we played was very good. And obviously, when you go down to 10 minutes, about showing resilience and character, and I thought the lads, you know, if you'd have come into the game at the end of the game, you'd have think we won that because our support was tremendous and stayed the lads off. So a lot of good things. We know that we need to defend our box better. You know, 3 balls in a box and 3 goals out of.
I thought there was a correction on.
You know, sometimes you don't mind if team plays through in a really good teams, but when it's the ball in the box, the 5 ball and ends up in your net, is obviously you're not happy about it at all.
You mentioned Ruel, the first 2 goals of the season. How impressed were you with him on Tuesday?
Well, Ruel's a player that I've always liked ever since I come to the club. He's come back after the summer and looks really lean, probably the best condition that he's ever been in. And then he's carried that forward. I think he's had a decent start to the season. He can still tidy up little things. His body shape when he's receiving in pockets, most certainly he can improve. But we know that when you get him around the 18-yard box, and he's a finisher, and he can definitely score goals. So it's a really good start for him, 2 goals, and hopefully he can continue to improve.
Apologies if you could hear us then, just discussing the fact that yes, Richie is definitely not on the touchline this afternoon, as it hasn't been rescinded. I believe the club are still appealing it. But anyway, that's a matter for another day. Now let's take a look at the opposition for this afternoon's game in the shape of Blackpool. And as we said, it's been an indifferent start to them for the season. They haven't scored many goals, but they also don't concede many either. And in goal for the Tangerines is number 32, Sam Grimshaw. We have number 20, Oliver Casey. The beautiful 21, Marvin Ekpetita. What a man. We have number 3, James Husband. Number 22, CJ Hamilton. Number 15, Jensen Weir. The captain, number 6, Ollie Norburn. Number 8, Albie Morgan. Number 24, Andy Lyons. Number 18, Jake Beasley. And the only goal scorer for them in the league, number 19, Shane Lavery. And on the bench for Blackpool is Richard O'Donnell, Callum Connolly, Matthew Pennington, Matty Virtue, Kenny Dougal, Sonny Carey and Owen Dale. So how are we expecting them to line up this afternoon then, Andrew?
Yeah, so they've been playing a 3-5-2 so far over the course of the season, but they've had an alright start. I mean, they've had an okay start. I mean, you call it indifferent. I'd definitely rather be in their position than as. The goals have been sort of slightly hard to come by for them, but in terms of keeping clean sheets, I mean, wow, they've yet to concede a goal all season. That's in all competitions too. So fair play. Like their defensive line is absolutely rock solid, and you know it doesn't take. We don't need to go too far back in our own memories to know what it's like keeping clean sheets and what that can lead to in terms of league form. So they'll be very, very tricky. A lot of people have been expecting them to be definitely in the mix for promotion or playoffs this season. But yeah, in that back line is the one man really that we're looking out for this afternoon. I mean, Jabo was talking about Joe Pigott trying to get flick-ons, and I don't think he'll get too much change out of Marvin Ekpiteta because we know what he can do.
We do know what he can do, and so many fond memories of him in an Orient shirt. And if we look at him now, Andrew, and we've got some highlights here of him winning headers, defending, tackling, clearing it off the line, scoring goals, assisting goals. We'll look at it now, but what a player he is. He's got it all.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see the highlights of Marvin Ekpiteta come up on the screen. He has really got it all. He's got a couple of very useful, very effective, massive goals for us in our National League promotion season. But really, in terms of his defensive work, that's obviously what he's paid to do. He has got it all. He had this, and he still has this kind of interesting style of play where he looks quite ungainly. He's got such long legs because he's such a big man, but he's deceptively quick as well because of the way that he moves. But it does mean that he's I'd say almost deceptively good at football because he does have everything, and he gets up in his aerial threat is superb. His defensive positioning, something that he's added to the game. But I mean, we know what he's capable of, and he's been brilliant for Blackpool, and is now the club captain for good reason.
And Jabo, you said you've seen a bit of him, and you were maybe not too convinced in what you had seen. I mean, as Andrew said, he does look a bit unconventional almost. So do you maybe try and play on that with the likes of Ross Tyrrell? Try run at him a little bit, although. Don't know how much show you have there.
I mean, obviously, looking at the clips there, he's got like his legs like go-go gadget legs. When you think he can't make it, suddenly he's there. But I've seen a little jink where I think, on the ball when he's coming out, because they do like to play and keep possession, and at times he's looking for the pass and he hasn't got the picture of the pass in his head, and at that moment is when you can probably capitalise and try and pressure him. Then he might give the ball away. So maybe they might use that as a trap, so particularly sit on certain other players and allow him to have the ball, because I don't think he's as what I see in recent games didn't look as accomplished on the ball as the others. So I would probably use that as a bit of a tactic. But aerially, he looks very, very, very commanding.
Well, Marvin, if you watch this back on YouTube, we love you. We're so proud of you, but we hope you have an absolute stinker today. And of course, this will be available to rewatch on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube and you're a UK fan, you can head over to the streaming centre to pick up an audio pass, and international fans can pick up a match streaming pass to watch along as well. Just to look at the opposition briefly, 8 yellow cards for them in 4 games. We've had 7, 1 red. A lot of cards being given about here. A couple of teams that are going to give it their all and show a lot of bite. Hopefully it won't boil over though.
Yeah, just to keep our head, I mean, you definitely see the difference in this league with the physicality, the tenaciousness of players, and, their forwards, they do press, they do sort of like pull it about a bit, and even Albie Morgan in the middle of the park, he gets stuck in and then tries to break. So, we just have to match that, but use our head, because you don't want to be giving away unnecessary free kicks. That gives them opportunity to put the ball in our box. But just be patient, build into the game, trying our best to recycle that possession, and then I think we'll be in the game.
Shane Lavery is the only goal scorer for them in the league. He is the one that you hope the centre backs will be keeping tight to, not giving him much.
Yeah. I mean, we'll try and keep him quiet. I mean, I guess the positive going into this game is that Blackpool in the league have only scored 2 goals in their 3 games. So you kind of, if you want to earmark a game in terms of this has got to be our first clean sheet of the season, you'd want to come to play against a team that's only scored twice in 3 league games. I think it's really quite poor at the start of the season to have conceded 8 goals in 3 games. So we've got to put it right, especially that's where we built our success from last season. And I know the circumstances are massively different, but we should be looking, keep that tight defence, get the goal, and try and come away with something from the game.
Well, kickoff is very nearly upon us, but let's remind ourselves of how the O's line up one more time before we head up to Blackpool. So in goal for the O's is number 13, Sam Howes. We have number 2, Tom James. Number 4, Ed Turns. Number 8, Jordan Brown. Number 9, Joe Piggott. 10, the goal scorer from Tuesday night, Ruel Sotiriou. Number 11, Theo Archibald. 14, George Wonker. 15, Idris El Mazouni. Wearing the armband is number 19, Omar Beckles. And 22, Ethan Galbraith. We have Reece Byrne on the bench alongside Shaq Ford, so thankfully we've got a striker on the bench this week. We have Jordan Graham, Harrison Soji, Zach Obiero and Charlie Pegram. Now, just before we hand over then, if Blackpool are playing this 3 at the back, 5 at the back, we've seen it against Wycombe, we've seen it against Charlton. Do you think we might match them up in that way today, potentially?
Possibly, quite possibly, but I don't know. I mean, you have to kind of play your own game, really, and that's something that Richie Wellens has always been quite, a massive proponent of. He never really looks at a team and goes, right, let's try and play them because they're playing a particular way. He's very much we can win the game the way that we're playing. So hopefully he kind of sticks to what they have been able to do on the training pitch. Of course, it's not been an ideal start in terms of preparation for the game because had a game on Tuesday and then a suspension, a couple more injuries, a real hodgepodge in terms of squad rotation. So it's not ideal, but we've had a couple of days to kind of get ready for it.
And very, very briefly, Jabo, what way do you see this one going?
No, I think there's lots of positives to take from the way we finished at Wycombe. If we start with that intensity and showed it throughout the game, then I think we can get a positive result. So I'm going with, I think it'll be tight, but I reckon we can come away with a draw.
Well, hopefully a draw, if not more. Love that from you, Jabo. Well, the players are making their way out onto the pitch, so let's head over to our match commentary team of Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock.